And
All stations, stand by for an incoming radio transmission.
hey, we're back. Good morning, everybody. Bob, K6UDA, your host. Well, actually, I got the wrong deal up there. Let me get rid of you. Wrong show. This is the Idaho Preparedness News. Actually, it's SIPNet. So, the Southern Idaho Preparedness Net. And good morning, everybody. I am Bob. I'll be with you along with, let's bring in the two shot. And there's Terry in there. What's happening, my brother Terry?
Well, just watching the world go by.
Ain't that something?
Seems like
Man.
it's going by faster than I'm getting aged.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Man, there's so much happening in the world right now. Here's something that might make you so happy. From 4 days ago, because remember we had the protests that entered a Minneapolis church, or is it Minneapolis or a Minnesota church somewhere, and disrupted their services, basically ended their Sunday service. We both know about that one. That's not a big secret. You also you know that back several years ago, there were anti-abortion protesters that pretty quietly went out in front of an abortion clinic, and I forget where exactly that was, but they were praying in front of an abortion clinic, and they were arrested and charged federally with this. I forget now. I'm brain farting on what it's called. The FACE Act, yes, the anti-abortion, and charged with all this First Amendment crime. Well, here's one that's gonna get you. From yesterday, baby. A Minnesota federal magistrate judge refused to sign a complaint charging independent journalist Don Lemon in connection with a protest inside of a church on Sunday. Isn't that wonderful? Isn't that such a wonderful thing that the judges, these leftist judges, won't even let charges, or won't even let the accusations come to the light of day. Let's give everything the cleansing of sunlight. But no, we can't do that, because he would probably be convicted.
Did you hear some of the rest of the story?
I didn't.
Well, the magistrate, they're not really a judge. They're Joe Blow put in a position like maybe a lawyer or something like that. But she is connected to so many people in that city, connected with Don Lemon and all that. It's a shame. It's almost like a gang, or like a mob, or whatever you want to call it.
Well, it's exactly what it is. It's a criminal enterprise.
But the prosecutor says it's not over yet. So I think they're going to continue to work to get it done. He was in there. You could hear him talking. He wasn't just saying, "What's going on? What do you think is happening?" He was agitating. He was, "Well, why are you doing this? Why are you doing?" I mean, he was just as much a mob as, yeah. Just because you put your name on a microphone doesn't mean you're a real journalist.
But I love how And here I'm gonna show everybody. I'm gonna tell everybody my political bent. This is the perfect example. You got all these people that are really down on Dan Bongino right now for, not getting things done and cleaned up at the DOJ or at the FBI. And then you have, let's see, James Comey being persecuted. Well, actually, not persecuted. Indicted. You have that Letitia James. Was it Letitia James?
Yeah.
Indicted. And you get a judge that throws out both of those indictments without ever seeing the light of day. And then you've got more judges that refuse to even hear those indictments. Then you get an indictment for Don Lemon for something so obviously criminal, yet you get one of those judges, the same kind of thing. One of those judges that says, well, I'm just going to throw it out. And people wonder why their side wins, supposedly, or not even wins, but their side gets away with everything. And the right gets stuck with the bill all the time. It's because we don't play hardball. It's
frustrating, isn't it?
It really is. Let's see. Gary is in the house. Good morning from Minnesota. Let me pull up. It'd be easier for me to read them over here. Let's see. Good morning from Cyrene Pickle is in the house. Good morning. Same thing will happen with the Clinton subpoena. Yeah, K Falls Bob. Same thing's going to happen. You're going to have some lefty activist judge is going to absolutely just dismiss any charges. These people don't get held accountable at all because we don't insist on it. We don't, hey, you go after a judge as an accessory after the fact when they do crap like this. It's just, whoop. Terry, you have no sound.
No sound?
Oh, there you go.
Because I'm not talking. My mouth is not moving.
Your mouth was not moving. All right, over here on YouTube. Pamela Crabtree's in the house. Welcome, Pam. A bit of cayenne pepper in the hot cocoa to warm up. Tennessee has got a bit of snow this morning. Blink and miss it. No freezing rain. I'm glad they missed that prediction. I guess they say that prediction is still in, or that warning is still in effect through tomorrow or Monday, and we'll talk about that in this morning's sit reps. Let's see, and the fire guy is in there. Good morning, Pamela Crabtree, 10 Mile, Tennessee. Outstanding. Now, I'm wondering why. Oh, that's an interview chat. Crap. I've got all the wrong stuff. That's what I wanted up. That's why I had to. All right, I couldn't read anything. All right, so now I've got the right chats and reactions up. I've got monitors up. We're going to switch over. Not to that one. That's the wrong one. Oh, my Lord. I tried updating some things, and it really screwed everything up. Two shot. No, not the two shot in my net view. That's what I'm looking for right there. We're getting ready to start the net. And once again, I'm going to do the net on my non ham radio because screw the FUDs. I don't care. It's not ham radio. I can't possibly be communicating with hams that are on ham radios with this because it's not a ham radio. I don't care. Whatever. I'm in one of those moods today. Can you tell? Can you tell, Terry?
Yeah, it's good. Last night I get a text from my bank at probably 10, 11 o'clock. Somebody used my card and charged
Really?
$500, $600. And of course, if they don't really have my card. I've got the card, but they stole it, so I had to communicate. They shut it off, and this morning I got to go down to the bank.
Where did where was it used? Here locally?
Newport, California area, and
Wow.
so I was surprised. I mean, I have had my Visa card shut down before. I was trying to get gas and it wouldn't go, so I called them and they shut it down because somebody had used it falsely. So we had to mess that up. So they're hard at work. I don't know how they got it. It was my credit union card. I don't use it. My Visa credit union. I don't use it very often. I only use it on things that I think are fairly protected. But somehow they
Right.
got it. Somehow they got it. So
Yep.
I'm glad.
Okay.
I'm
I
glad
need
the
to
credit
bring
union
that
on
one up.
call. My Visa credit union. I don't use it very
Oh,
often.
hang on here. All right. There we go. And let me get my chat running here on X. And if you're watching on X or if you want to watch on X, there it is at Grayman Survival on X. Let me put you back put that window back down. KK7RDO, good morning. And we got 2 minutes. So, what would everybody like to talk about today? I know what Terry's going to talk about. Terry's in there. Terry's going to tell us a little bit about what's happening, what's going to happen according to the Bible, and how it relates right back to all of the stuff, all of the day's news. I mean, almost, it's kind of, well, it's kind of amazing, isn't it, Terry? I mean, you said, hey, it's everything that I've read about 50 years ago. Oh, no. 40 years ago. I'm sorry. 140 years ago. Back in the Civil War. And now you said it is all coming true. So
Coming together.
Yep.
I want to encourage anybody if they have a question, write it down in the
In the
remarks
chat.
down.
In the
Yeah.
chat. Yeah. Definitely.
So
Definitely. Anything that you want Terry to try to relate back because he knows the Bible. Kind of like I know gun law. He's good. All right, as we get ready to jump into the radio portion of the net, you guys can follow along on ham radio. 40448 or one of the local repeaters. Echolink on 442.000. And here we go. Good morning and welcome to the Southern Idaho Preparedness Net. I'm Bob, K6UDA, your net control host this morning. This net meets every Saturday morning at 0900 hours Mountain Time on the K6UDA repeater, located deep within the Southern Idaho Command in Twin Falls, Idaho. This is a digital radio net accessible via Wires X Room 40448 and YSF Reflector 40448, both called the Idaho Command. Also available on the Hanson Butte 2-meter fusion repeater 145.170. And local hams with analog radios can also participate using the KB7 DFP repeater 442.000. The purpose of this net is the free exchange of information. Ooh, hang on here. I have to move this. Free exchange of information related to emergency preparedness, commonly known as prepping. We encourage deep dives into subjects related to food, water, shelter, personal protection, weapons, survival tactics, medical issues, communication gear, and techniques. I'm looking for subject matter experts to lead discussions on all these various subjects. If you have material you'd like to present or discuss, when you check in, please indicate that you have a subject. Although not primarily political, as in today, discussion of relevant political, cultural, or religious events are welcome in the context of situational awareness and survival. As part of my personal preparedness plan, practicing for the gathering and dissemination of important news and information to my friends, family, and my local community is what this net is all about. So as training, I'm doing sit reps or situation reports every week. While times are good, I'm using general news stories that I find interesting. And I ask everyone here to contribute their own stories or sit reps, especially if they are in or near an affected area of an actual emergency. I'm going to let it drop. All right, in order to give everyone an opportunity to be heard, I'm going to do check-ins, comments in the following order. We'll do local repeater check-ins, Wires X check-ins, YSF, and then we might get to some live stream comments. You're encouraged to check in with your first name, call sign, and how you're getting onto the net, i.e. the local repeater, Wires X, or YSF. That being said, do we have any local repeater check-ins?
Papa KD7 DFT 10 at Twin Falls on the 442. Track 2.
All right, good morning, Ken. Thanks for checking in. Copied no traffic from you, and thanks for always having your repeater tuned in to us for this Saturday net. Looking for check-ins from the local repeaters or connected to Echolink or All-Star. Come now.
Kilo Bravo 7, Sierra Quebec, Sierra Lance, Twin Falls, Idaho, and YSF. No traffic.
All right, Lance, thanks for checking in. Copied no traffic from you. And again, another repeater owner here allowing us to carry this through the Magic Valley on YSF and Wires X. Looking for check-ins for the Southern Idaho Preparedness Net. Come now. All right, let's. Whoop.
W6CJ, Wires X node covering parts of LA and Pasadena with the topic.
All right, Jay. Copied. You have. You've got a sit rep, so we'll get back to you in the sit rep section. Thanks for checking in. Looking for check-ins for the Southern Idaho Preparedness Net. Any mode, anywhere. Let's get them in.
November 7, Romeo, Bravo, Papa, Medford. Good morning, no traffic.
All right, Bob. Thanks for checking in there and copied no traffic from you. The M1KE sounds great. Check-ins for the Southern Idaho Preparedness Net. This is K6EDA. Come now.
This is Bucky, W0SUN, coming in on a Fusion Wires Act repeater here in Denver, Colorado. No traffic, no sit reps.
All right. Bucky, thanks for checking in. W0SUN from Denver, and I copied no traffic from you. Whoop. Check-ins. Come now.
Kilo Foxtrot 0, Oscar Hotel uniforms is Sean over here in Minnesota.
All right. Good morning, Sean. And do you have any sit reps or any information for us?
Not too much what's outside the news. I know we got that Don Lemon thing, which is kind of irritating. So, yeah, what do you do when you got a corrupt AG, you corrupt federal judges, corrupt politicians? The corruption's too deep. I don't see any justice happening in our state anytime soon. But, yeah, we're on the news enough, and not too much outside of that for me. KF0 OHU, back to net.
All right, Sean. Thanks for filling us in. Looking for check-ins for the Southern Idaho Preparedness Net. Come now.
KB9 UPY, Tim in Northwest Illinois, no traffic.
All right, KB9 UPY, copied no traffic. Thanks for checking in. Looking for check-ins. Southern Idaho Preparedness Net. Come now. Good attendance today. Thank you, guys. All right, hearing a lull in the check-ins. I want to thank everybody for checking in. Let's take a break from check-ins right now, and we'll move into our sit rep section. Guys, sit reps are situational reports. They could be tactical. They could be anything. Right now, as we're in the training phase of our existence, I am doing news stories. So today we're going to start out. DOJ said Sunday, said last Sunday, as it is investigating the anti-ICE protesters who disrupted services at City's Church in St. Paul, Minnesota. They were chanting inside the sanctuary, and they forced the service to an end. Story number one. So, and that's kind of what spurred today's topic. Yesterday, I believe, a Minnesota federal magistrate judge refused to sign a complaint charging independent journalist Don Lemon in connection with a protest inside of that St. Paul church last Sunday. So we kind of talked about that before the net started. Interesting dynamics there. I'm going to let it drop. On Thursday, the National Weather Service issued a winter storm watch for from parts of New Mexico and Texas to New England, with the system starting Friday and exiting Monday night. Up to 4 inches of snow, sleet, and more than a quarter inch of ice accumulations are possible, risking hazardous roads, while wind chills could plunge near minus 50 degrees Fahrenheit in Minnesota and North Dakota. In Second Amendment news, Wolford v. Lopez, the United States Supreme Court heard oral arguments on this case January 20th. That was this week. The case challenges Hawaii's post-Bruin restrictions on concealed carry, particularly called the vampire rule, a default prohibition of carrying concealed firearms onto private property open to the public, such as stores, restaurants, banks, bars, beaches, or other locations, unless the property owner explicitly grants permission. And finally, gold prices and silver. Wow. If you've got some gold and silver, you got some money. Gold hit 49.41 to 49.88 yesterday in yesterday's trading, and silver hit $103 per ounce. When precious metals spike, this could indicate persistent inflation, dollar weakening, or eroding confidence in fiat currencies. And then I have my very own supply chain observation this last week while shopping at Costco. I looked up in the grocery section and noticed that about half of the store, all of the upper large racks where you normally see all kinds of stocked up goods, 100% empty. In the 30 years that I've been going to Costco, I've never seen that before. I have seen a couple of small stories about like the toilet paper shortage again starting in, say, New Jersey, because, and I take that as people were prepping for this possible storm. Let's see. That is all I've got. I know. Let's see. Jay, W6CJ, you had a sit rep for us.
Roger. Good morning, Bob and Ned. Yeah, one sit rep. I live in La La Land, LA, as you know. I was out for my morning stroll, and I did see a lot of posters tacked to poles, getting people to protest against ICE. Those were removed. I don't know who by. What caught my mind was another large poster. I snapped a few pictures of it, giving a rapid response telephone number. Of course, you know, the anti-ICE rapid response groups are the ones that, who knows who their sponsors are. Let's look into that. And where the anti-IFRAP response groups are the ones that show up in advance of ICE operations. So I'll see what I can do with that. Drop. On a lighter note, I believe it's this weekend. Check it out, guys. But there's a PAM Winter Field Day. And for those who don't know, Winter Field Day has been happening for the last few years. It's a chance to get out and fight the weather, do some prepping, practice your APF operations, your multi-mode operations, but in the winter time. So go on the web, look up Winter Field Day, and join in. Maybe we'll work you. People in the storm areas are probably going to have their own Winter Field Day, so they're exempt. Anyway, that's all I have. Back to you.
All right, Jay. Thanks for all of that information. Good information to keep in your pocket. Remember, forewarned is forearmed. And thanks for the reminder on Field Day. I'll be doing Field Day here, and for at least the first couple of hours, I'll be opening up Studio B to the local ham community who might not either have facilities to do it themselves or want to do it themselves. And let's see. Wow. Man, Terry just informed me gold currently hit $5,000. That's nuts. That is nuts. All right. Let's see. Do we have any other sit reps from anybody listening? Do we have any late or last minute check-ins from anybody on the radio? All right. I guess then I am going to end the radio portion of the net. We're going to continue on Rumble with a simulcast on YouTube, both on the Idaho Preparedness channels on both Rumble and YouTube. And you can also follow along on X at Grayman Survival. With that, I want to thank everybody on the radio who checked in, participated, or just joined in and listened. And with that, I'm going to return all of the ham radio stations to their normal ham radio use. 7-3. We'll talk to you all next week. This is K6UDA. Okay. All right. And thanks everybody. Man, that's awesome. Good participation. Yeah, let's see. From K Falls, Bob, gold and silver prices are pointing to an economic crash. Yeah, we've been saying that for years. There's nothing. But I do remember back a few years back, they used to say when gold hits $2,000, that's the end of the economy. You remember that, Terry? And now, we're at $5,000. Everything is artificially propped up. I don't see how it can be sustained. If at all, much longer, if at all. Let's see. Pamela Crabtree in the chat says silver. Oh, you know what? Let's go ahead and run us back over to here. Silver una pesos is what I
Got your-
currently got.
Got your Spanish?
Yeah, 0.72 silver content in the coins, still at a decent price. Constitutional silver is good to stack. And let's see, 2 of 2. Coin shops may offer low buyback prices, claiming refineries aren't taking constitutional silver. Yeah, well, and 3 out of 3. Currently, the shops are sold out of stock. Now the shops are restocking at higher prices, so they will not consider the value of graded coins. Yeah, when buying from customers. Well, then, unless you really have to sell, I wouldn't consider that. I just say, well, screw it. I hang on to my silver. It's not going down. It's not going to crash in price, guys. And if it does, it's because the rest of the economy has gone through the toilet. And then it's better to have the silver than try to. And what are you going to cash out for fiat currency?
Yeah.
Japan is dumping Fed notes. Wow. Just a ton of stuff. All right. So anyway, now let's get into our main subject. And Terry, you're going to lead this one off. I've got my questions about what the Bible says. I did see a comment in there from Pamela. Pamela, you are a rock star around here. Thank you. Jared Kushner and his part in prophecy being fulfilled. Any insight on that, Terry? Might as well start off big.
I don't like him at all. I think he's doing more damage than he's doing good. He's a Jew, but he's an American Jew. And the problem that when it gets to that kind of stuff, Trump, I'm a Trump guy, but I've been frustrated with him lately too. Their mindset, Jared and all these guys, their mindset is if we can make a great financial deals where everybody's financially prospering, Qatar and Saudi Arabia and all these things, and we're going to make Gaza to a new Mediterranean hotspot to go to, and it's going to be wonderful, and we're going to do all of this. First of all, God's not going to allow them to divide up Israel. He's not going to do that. He's just not going to allow it. But the problem is that they're thinking this mindset. They don't understand that Islam, they don't think that way. They may play along with you. Oh, that sounds like a great deal, while they are plotting on eliminating Israel and then eventually America. You got the little Satan and the big Satan. We've talked about that before. Forever, they have talked about Israel being the little Satan, America being the big Satan. And so I don't like what Jared and them are doing. I don't like what Trump is doing. I almost feel like he thinks he's been elected over there as Israel's real president. And he's causing issues. So I get frustrated with him. And doesn't mean I don't like him or anything like that, but I just get frustrated because I don't think I think he's thinking financial and everybody's going to love it. Qatar, for example, is filthy rich. One of the richest. They don't need money. They don't need that. They give away a plane. They give away this. And all of that is to control and to own you and da 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 da. So what I see going over there is still a big issue. And if you want me to go ahead and say a few things, I'll go ahead and start. But
Iran, man, the show is yours now.
Okay. A lot of people believe, they say, well, we shouldn't get involved in Iran. We shouldn't get involved in Iran. If there's any place we should get involved in is Iran. People say, well, we want to see the end of the war with Gaza and Hamas and Hezbollah and all these guys. We want to see the end of that. Then you're going to have to get rid of Iran. Now, when I say that, I don't mean the people that live there, the Persians that live there. I'm talking about Islam and the Muslims that are dominating, controlling, and murdering in the streets the real Iranians. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
And if 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 Trump would have stayed out of the way and let Israel finish it when they bombed, for the nuke stuff, it would have been over. Now they've got China coming in landing planes, bringing weapons and whatever they're bringing, men. I don't know what they're bringing, but they got these big. I don't know if you've seen them, big planes, just monster planes coming in with loaded with whatever. Um, now, whatever we get involved in, China's there. So now we're going to be in China. If Trump would have did what he said he was going to do, if you go ahead and march and you protest and they come after you with weapons, we're going to jump in and help you. Well, they haven't done it yet, and they've got I don't know how many thousands. It's been from 1,000 to 4,000 of the Iranians just murdered in the streets. So it's getting worse and worse, and he still hasn't done anything. So I don't know what he's waiting for. Maybe he's got a lot of plans that he hasn't told me about. But meanwhile, the Iranians are dying and in the streets. And so I'm frustrated with that. So I don't know what's going to happen. But if we could eliminate the mullahs and stuff in Iran,
Hmm.
and let the Iranians and the Persians that actually love Israel and love America get them into leadership there, guess what? There's not going to be any financing or hardly any financing being able to go to Hamas and Hezbollah. Now you still got Qatar, who uh, who is the financial support also, but Iran has been the producer of the missiles and rockets and all these things weapons that have been going to Iran. So Iran needs to be out of the way. We need to get rid of the mullahs and Islam and let the people that have been being wiped out over there get control again. Is that going to be an easy job? No. And is Israel going to jump in and start participating? I hope so. I don't know how. And I know that if that happens, you're going to get everybody angry at Israel, not realizing that the problem over there is not Israel, it's China. I mean, it's Iran. So that's what's going on over there. So no, for the question, um, I don't know why they put him in there. And was it Westcott? Well, I forget his name. They don't know squat about the Iranians, and they don't know anything about the Arabs and how they work and their law. The thing about the Muslims, they will say it's in their law, they're allowed to do that. They can look at you and lie to you, and that's okay as long as their plan is to eventually subject you, get you under their power and take over your land. But
Hmm.
so, did you want to get into some of the ideas of why we
Well,
have the
yeah,
problem?
actually you're in charge here. I've got questions that I just wanted to, when we talked about this, I was going to take some things that are happening. Terry's going to tell us exactly where we're talking about in the Bible and how it all relates to end times, because this whole thing came about as we are well, Terry says, according to his to your research, that we are we're here. We're at the end times. Not
Okay, go ahead. So let me start something, and for those that are watching, bear with me for about 5 minutes or so, maybe a little bit longer, so I can lay a foundation of what's we're going to talk about, and why we're at where we're at and what's going on with that. If you just allow it, I'm going to give you a little scripture here. I'm not going to preach to you, I promise, but if you're a non-believer, and you think it's nuts about prophecy and all that, just bear with me, and you'll see at least how things work. But one of the things that we learned, those who study prophecy, is that when you have somebody that's a prophet, and we're talking about Jesus here, they'll give a prophecy for way out, but in order to show that what they're saying way out is true, they give a prophecy close, so that the people that are listening to the prophecy can see something the prophecy come to pass. And so one of the things that started with Jesus is when he came out of the temple, and you can find all this, and we're going to talk out of Matthew 24 today if you got your Bible and stuff. But he came out of the temple, and he says this. He says to them, Jesus went out and departed from the temple, And his disciples came up and showed him the buildings of the temple, and they were so proud of that. And he says, Jesus said, do, do you not see all these things? Assuredly, I say to you, not one stone shall be left here upon another that shall not be thrown down. And so he says, it's beautiful. Everything you see here that took years and years and years to build, it's going to be thrown down, cast down. And that all came to pass in 70 AD when Rome, basically Titus and them came in and just leveled it, killed millions of Jews and all that. So it came to pass. So when you go through the rest of Matthew, what he's doing, the rest of Matthew from chapter 3 and on, verse 3 of chapter 24 and on, you're getting to see a sky view, from a plane, taking a picture way down here of the what leads up to the tribulation and then through the tribulation. But it's not inclusive. If you want a short picture of what's going to happen, step one, step two, then you got to go into Revelation, then you have to go into Daniel, and you have to go into Zechariah and Joel and other places, Ezekiel, to get the rest of the picture, but from an overview. And so one of the things, I'm going to jump to this because I think it's the most important. In Matthew chapter 24, it talks about that as in the days of Noah. And so that's really key. And that's, I think, in around verse 30, what is it, 32 or something like that. Hang on, 34, 36. And it talks about that is this is Jesus talking, that is in the days of Noah, but that day and that hour no one knows, not even the angels of heaven. But as in the days of Noah were, so also will the coming of the Son of Man be. For as in the days before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage until the day that Noah entered the ark. And so it almost sounds like, if you just read this alone, that they were just going on living, everything's fine, and then boom, everything falls apart. But that's not it. You've got to go back to Genesis chapter 6 to find out what was really happening. I'm getting my Bible opened up over here so I can go there. So I'm going to go to Genesis chapter 6, and we're going to go to here it is. I'm going to start in verse 5, okay? This is the days before Noah. This is what's happening just before God says, I've had enough of it. He says, then, verse 5, then the Lord saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, that every intent of the thought of his heart was only evil continually. And the Lord was sorry that he made man. Now I'm going to jump down to 11, and it says here, and the earth was also corrupt before God, and the earth was filled with violence, that violence. And so what we're seeing now, this is the days before Noah. And also you can go to, and we won't run there now, but in Luke chapter 17, he also talks about the days of Noah, but also the days of Lot. He brings that in too. Now we all know what happened in Lot is Sodom and Gomorrah. God came down and boom, crashed, burnt to the ground Sodom and Gomorrah, and eliminated all the immorality that was going on there. So, but the words I want you to see here is the word violence. And that word violence in the Hebrew is Hamas, Chams, but it's Hamas. And it's interesting because this is a spirit, the spirit of Hamas, this spirit. Now, so what's that mean? When you have demonic spirits, fallen angels, now fallen angels are different than demons, but let's just say fallen angels, and we see them reigning over nations. We see them reigning over cities. We see them reigning and controlling and dominating. So if you go over to Daniel chapter 10, and to save time, let me just say what was going on. Daniel was praying, and he was asking God to help him understand some of the prophetic things that God had told Daniel. And so Daniel was praying, and he had been fasting for 21 days, and an angel showed up. The angel happened to be Gabriel. And Gabriel said, hey, since the first day you decided and trust yourself to understand the scripture, I was sent. But for the last 21 days, I've been fighting with the prince of Persia, and still be there. But I went. Michael came and helped him. The prince, chief prince, Archangel Michael came and helped him. He's up there fighting still. Now I'm here to give you this message, and so he gives a message. But the things I want you to see is that the prince of Persia, that prince, the fallen angel, had oversight, control, dominated. It was influencing and empowering Persia. Medo. Remember, we had Nebuchadnezzar, we had Medo-Persia, then eventually we had Greece, and so it's that spirit, that prince of Persia, that empowered, that influenced, that controlled, that dominated, that gave the strength to and power to be a great nation that nobody could defeat. But then Gabriel says, but what's going to happen? We are going to go back up. We're going to fight with the prince of Persia. We're going to get him out of the way. We're moving him out of Persia. But there's going to be another prince that's going to come. And this prince is the prince of Greece, which happens to be Alexander the Great, as he moved into to Medo-Persia and defeated. Now, Alexander the Great is amazing. He is empowered by this prince of Greece to be able to take 10,000 men and go against 100,000 of the Persians and destroy them and eventually take over. He had influence and power that nobody till this time we know had, based on the prince of Greece that was overseeing him and empowering him. Now, many people, many prophecy teachers may not pay attention to this portion, but I do. And the thing that we need to understand is in the last days, what we see happening back then with Medo-Persia, Greece, that is where all of the activity was coming from, and that is where I believe the activity is going to come from in the book of Revelation, especially when we get into Revelations chapter 13. And so that's something that we won't really cover today. But here's what I wanted you to understand. What we're seeing today, remember, as in the last days, we are seeing that spirit of violence, or let me say Hamas, manifesting now in this country and in just about every other country where you see the Palestinians and Hamas supporting Hamas, fighting for Hamas. That spirit of violence has affected them. It's empowered them. It's overseeing them. It's dominating. It's controlling them. And so wherever you see these Palestinians rioting and fighting, it's because that spirit of Hamas is influencing them and controlling them. They don't have the ability to break free from that. It dominates them. It's like an alcoholic who has that demonic spirit of alcoholism that, he can be away from booze, but he's thinking about it all the time until he can get back to it again. This is what's happening with these people. The sad thing is that same spirit is influencing anybody that is open to receive it. So you see these college kids supporting pro-Hamas. That spirit of Hamas is on them too. And let me just give you one little quick thing here, and then I'm communicate a little bit with Bob here. When I was a cop in Portland, way back in the 70s, I remember having the first gay pride day. And we had a parade, and our I think it was the mayor back then, Goldsmith, and he was with him, a small little parade. And I looked at that and I said, wow. And I don't know if I sensed it or saw it or felt it or whatever. I said, there is a spirit of homosexuality moving in. I could almost see it floating over that parade and empowering the people that were in that. And I said, from this point on, Portland is going to be evangelized massively in homosexuality, lesbianism, and all that stuff. And it did. And even when I left the police department to go into the ministry after 10 years, we just then started to see more homosexuals come on duty, becoming policemen and open. I'm talking open stuff. And I said, oh, here it is. And so that's what I'm talking about. So we're going to see that it's all around the world right now. It's in Europe. It's in anywhere you can think of, where you see the Palestinians. Germany, Europe, France, London, America. Dearborn, Michigan, now New York. Watch New York as they become Muslim centric, total Muslim centric. There will never be another elected mayor that's not a Muslim, because once the tens of thousands and thousands of Muslims move in because of their Muslim mayor there, and they'll be able to have all their prayer and all that, there'll never be anything more than the Muslims electing more Muslims in different offices. So we're in that place right now. So where Jesus says, as in the days of Noah, we are living in those days just before God put Noah in the ark and brought the rain. And so we're there now. And I've been studying this for quite a few years, as I told Bob, and Bob was in one of my Bible studies on end times. And we saw that how they have the prophecies have come to the point where here we are. It could happen any time now. All the financial things, as far as the digital financial stuff, is set up to be sparked to eventually, in the middle of the tribulation, end up with what we call the mark of the beast. Go ahead, Bob. I know you have a question.
Okay, I've got a list of questions because you said that you could take specific things that are happening right now, or we're on the precipice of happening, and relate it right back to the Bible. Let's we kind of talked about the war in Israel. And I don't want you took a bit of time explaining all the background. I think that's kind of important because that gives us a real solid background. Let's see. U.S. cities like Dearborn, Michigan, being taken over by the Muslims. Where does that fit in?
Well, that basically fits in with the fact that spirit of Hamas has infiltrated just about every nation that is a power player. So like I said, the hatred for Jews is one of the prophecies of the last days, and you've got every nation. If you want me to give you a scripture for that, I'll show you.
Absolutely. That's kind of what we're looking for, is that where that, and we'll just quickly go through those. And then, I know there's, looks like we've got quite a few sitting here looking at it. We got like 27 people, and I got questions, or I got things from Pamela that we'll get to here in a minute. Let me look and see. Currently got 15 on got 15 people here on Rumble with 5 thumbs up. I'd love to see 15 thumbs up over on Rumble. We have looking on YouTube. I'm kind of looking for the numbers here.
Let me read to you out of Zechariah.
Okay.
We were talking about why right now is there anti-Semitism everywhere, even starting in the church. Like we talked about once before, there's a doctrine, I call it heretical, that's called replacement theology, where the Christians now are taking the place of the Jews. The Jews are insignificant. They don't even need to be in Israel. They're the problems right now. And it's causing, every time I watch a YouTube where there's a guy that's preaching this, he's angry and he's mad and he's talking about others. Everyone. Why? Because he's got a spirit that is influencing him in a wrong way. But here's what's going to happen in the last days. This is Zechariah chapter 14. And he says here, behold, the day of the Lord is coming, and your spoil will be divided in your midst. Now here it says, for I will gather all the nations to battle against Jerusalem. What's happening right now? How many friends does Jerusalem have right now? One? at least openly. But all the nations are gathering. They're angry. Let's get rid of them. Let's have two states and everything. Understand that the Bible is not, God is not going to allow Israel to be divided up.
Hmm.
And that's one of the things that every time that happens, every time they push that, problems occur. Problems occur in America when our presidents push it. We have floods, we have hurricanes, we have disasters, and it's a mess. But he says, "For I will gather all the nations to battle against Jerusalem. The city will be taken, the houses rifled, and the women ravished. Half the city shall go into captivity, but the remnant of the people shall not be cut off from them." And da 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 da. I can go on and on. I can go to Psalms chapter 2. It's the same thing. Let me just do that. There's so much scripture here. I can't read them all, otherwise we'll never get anywhere. Psalms chapter 2 and verse 1. And it says, God here says, "Why do the nations rage and the people plot a vain thing? The kings of the earth set themselves and the rulers take counsel together against the Lord and against his anointed, saying, let us break their bonds in pieces and cast them in cords." In other words, this is against everything's against Israel. And we're seeing that now. We're seeing Israel with no friends. But part of that is prophetic, because when the nations come against Israel, and there'll be nations that come against Israel, and it'll look like they're just going to be wiped off the map, just
Hmm.
devoured. That's when God steps in and throws rocks from heavens and wipes out the enemy completely. And this is all being set up right now. Now, a lot of people, if just to answer questions that maybe nobody has, but a lot of people don't understand what's going on in Iran. Now,
Hang on, real quick. Pamela's asking, Zechariah, what chapter and verse?
Chapter 14,
Okay.
you can start in verse 1.
Okay.
And so a lot of people, when they teach, you'll hear this all the time, every time. Ezekiel 38, Ezekiel 38, 39. And they think it's going to happen, and they teach. And I love these guys. I just disagree with them. Now, does that make me right or them right? This is my interpretation based on scripture. But they believe it's going to happen right at the beginning of the tribulation, Ezekiel 38. For those of you that listen to prophecy, they teach it. You know what I'm talking about. Well, it was Ezekiel 38. It's like Ezekiel 38 is not going to happen, I believe, at the beginning. It's going to be towards the end of it, because if you study 38 and 39, it leads right into Armageddon. But the thing about Ezekiel 38 is that if you read in verse 19, when that happens, God just thunders down with against the enemy of Israel. And what will you see? You'll see earthquakes. You'll see mountains flattened. You'll see islands disappear. You'll see Jerusalem divided up in an earthquake and all that. Well, that doesn't happen at the beginning of the tribulation. That happens at the last bold judgment. And if you read the last bowl judgment, you'll see the earthquakes and all that happening, and then measure it up with Ezekiel 38, verse 19, you'll see that it matches. It's the same thing. And so don't worry about that for right now. And a lot of them say, well, that has to be Iran and Turkey and Russia. Well, I don't believe Russia is Gog and Magog. I believe it's in Turkey, because back when the prophecy was there regarding Gog and Magog, Russia was not involved. Remember, Medo-Persia, Babylon, Medo-Persia, Greece, all of that was a part of it. It's going to come out of there, not out of Russia. Now, that doesn't mean that Russia can't be involved, but they're not the leaders of it. It will come out of Turkey. But let's look at this. Right now, Iran is, based on surveys that I've been listening to, they're having the biggest revival into Christianity. Iranians, the Persians, because that's where the Persia was. They are coming to Christ like crazy. Okay, so right now, let's say that all these Iranians take over finally, and they get to have their own city back, and they grow, and Christianity grows like crazy. And then and it's going to happen quickly, because people want that freedom. But they're the mosques in Iran, nobody goes to them, and they're being burnt down. But let's look at this. Let's say you've got millions and millions of new Christians there, and finally the rapture comes. Now, I'm a pre-tribulation rapture. That means I believe the rapture is going to happen before the tribulation. The rapture means, if you find it in First and Second Thessalonians, there are those that say, "Well, there's no such thing as a rapture." Well, it's right there in First and Second Thessalonians. Paul makes it clear. No, it's not John Darby or anybody like that, but it is in fact Paul that makes it clear. And so here's what's going to happen there. If the rapture occurs, you're going to have the massive, well, all the Christians in Iran gone who are believers. What's going to be left? The leftover Muslims and Islam. So I think at this time, that is when Islam and the rest of what's left in Iran will hook up with Turkey, and we'll see that kind of push happen. But that's the whole different story. And if I get too involved in that, we'll take up the rest of the time. So yeah, and so what I see happening right now in Iran, I believe fits right in it, because Iran and Turkey and Russia or wherever, they're not going to attack until down the road. And so yeah, I think it's fit in right well right now. We're seeing that happen based on scripture, based
Okay.
on. Okay, so what other ones should you have? Question.
Let's see. Just real quick, I want to bring this in. Siren Pickle over on Rumble is saying, looked up the number of mosques in Idaho. The internet says there's 8, one more under construction. A friend in Sandpoint reports that one of their local politicians brought Muslims into the Sandpoint area. I don't doubt that. Sandpoint's kind of little Berkeley of Idaho. But I know we've got one mosque here in Twin Falls. And I don't see all that much activity over there, but it's there. It is there. Let's see. You talked about the New York mayor being a Muslim and a socialist and a communist, or a communist. And you said that that there will never be another non-Muslim elected in New York City. New York City, in your estimation, has fallen, right?
Absolutely.
And is there any biblical context to that?
Well, understand that there is no prophecy where America is involved in it. In other words, here's prophecy, this is America. We're not in it. And I know people try to make it, the Lions and from England and all that. There's nothing about it. America has to be either, number one, it has to fall, or it has to be impotent. No power, authority, no influence. And so the more cities that we have that become Muslim, basically, look what's going on in Dallas and Fort Worth right now. Can you imagine Texas, of all places, having, what is it, 400? I might be wrong with this, so don't hold me to it, but 400 mosques, and they're just. What happens is Qatar, Trump's favorite hangout guy, and especially Tucker's favorite hangout guy. By the way, don't get me started on him. I do not believe he's a Christian. I encourage people, don't even bother listening to what he says when it comes to things about Israel and all that stuff. He's gone. He's got a demon, and he even said he's got a demon. He says he was attacked by a demon. Yeah, sure he was, because he's being influenced by one. Okay, I'm sorry, wrong track. New York City is going to have. I mean, they're having their prayers on the street, and they're basically it's going to become another Dearborn. And all these little people that thought, well, we're going to vote for this guy because he's going to give us all this free stuff. Well, surprise, surprise, surprise! You're not getting nothing. And not only that, you're going to lose. You're going to lose everything you have. And
Yeah.
You're going to lose my coffee. Thank you, sweetheart. My coffee gal's here.
Oh,
I
wish I had a coffee gal.
So what's going to happen here is, I mean, look at New York, the biggest influenced city in the country, other than maybe Los Angeles. But here they are being run by basically an Islam Muslim. He wants Sharia, even though he won't say this or he won't say that. Sure, he won't say it. He needs to get elected. Well, he's got elected. So now he's going to do what he wants to do. Watch the policemen go away from being real policemen. In fact, most policemen will probably, I'm guessing here, will flee New York because they're not going to want to be the Muslims' little handmaid. And they're going to put their Muslim guys in, which they want to do, and boom, it's gone, just like Dearborn. And
Right.
when the Christians stand up in Dearborn and say, "Well, we want you," they say, "Get out of here. You know, we don't want you here, and we're going to celebrate and have a parade when you leave." Remember, they said that to that one pastor.
Oh yeah.
And I know I'm getting a little excited now because some of these things really frustrate me, and they frustrate me. They frustrate me because it's like, I'm just a little guy here, and I've been studying prophecy for 40 years and been teaching it, and I've had to make changes and all that. Why can't anybody else see? When I talk to anybody else, I mean, the politicians that have the power to stop it from spreading. Now, the problem is we have our own laws that protect. We have a constitution, and
Hmm.
so it protects us as a Christian, but it protects them as a Muslim also. Have your freedom of religion, and they're going with that. They come in and they will slowly but surely take over every influential city that they can, using our own laws against us until they have enough influence where they basically say, "Okay, we're it now." You know.
Okay. So digital currency. How about let's move into what biblical prophecy uh, can we get out of digital currency?
Well, we're leading up to chapter 13 of the book of Revelations talks about how the Antichrist, who will be revealed at that time, will set up a system where you're going to have a mark in your hand, and you will not be able to buy or sell unless you submit to their mark. Now, people ask, what do you think the mark is? Personally, now, this is just my guess, okay? My guess is the mark is just a brand. You know, God puts a brand on his 144,000. Remember that, and to keep them protected and all that stuff, and probably the Christians that are in the tribulation also that become Christian in the tribulation. So I think it's a brand, but I think there's and a lot of other prophecy teachers teach the same thing. There's going to be some kind of a chip. Now, can it be something else? Certainly, we don't know yet. But there's going to be some kind of chip that's located in your hand, and so you'll need the mark. And the mark basically says, "Okay, I'm submitting to the Antichrist. He's now my Lord." And the chip will be holding your medical, be holding your finances, your vaccine record, anything that controls you. And if you don't have the mark on your hand, you may have a chip, but if you don't have the mark on your hand, you can't buy or sell. Now, does the chip, if they put a chip in your hand, does that mean that's the mark of the beast? No, it doesn't. It doesn't mean that's the mark. The mark is a mark on the hand, and that's when you submit. But if you have a chip in your hand and you've been using it for, let's say, 1, 2, 3 years, and then the Antichrist reveals and says, "Oh, here I am, you're going to have a mark on your hand." Well, if you say, "No, I'm not going to do that," well, then you're not going to buy or sell. They'll turn your finances off. That'll be the only way you can buy. You can only buy legally uh, using your chip. And so your bank account will be turned off or turned off to you at least. And so you're going to have to use gold, silver, bartering, or something in order to eat. Now, just in case nobody's asking this and they want to know, are there going to be Christians in the tribulation? Yes, I believe, and so do many other prophecy teachers, that the minute after the rapture occurs, people that have been hearing the gospel for years and have rejected it are going to turn around and give their life back, give their life to Jesus, and there'll be new Christians, some people that have never heard it, and so there's going to be a revival then. And we know that because we see them throughout the tribulation in Revelations. The Christians are there, the Christians are there, and they're going to be martyred left and right. They're going to be killed because of their stance for God. And so, yeah, there will be Christians in and some of these Christians, if they are able to make it all the way through the 7 year tribulation without being killed, they will go on into the millennium, and that's a 1,000 year reign where they will live. They'll marry, they'll have kids, and all that stuff. Those have been raptured and have come back with Jesus at the end of the tribulation, at the second coming of Christ. They'll be in immortal bodies, and these immortal bodies cannot uh, reproduce. They can't have children. So, in other words, you and your wife will not be in the married state you're in now. I don't know what kind of state we'll be in as far as relationships. The Bible doesn't really teach that. Like, I would love to be with my wife forever. You know, we've been married over, well, forever, and so
130 years.
yeah, I don't want to get that wrong. You know, she may listen to this, but you know, I would love to be with her. It doesn't have to be married, but I want to be with her. You know, and because we've been best buds for forever, and so those that go into the millennium will reproduce, and anyway, that's a whole new story. So go ahead with the other
Okay.
questions you have.
Let's see. You've already covered the mark of the beast. Let's talk about well, no, you've already covered the mark of the beast, social credit scores, and the implanted biometrics, which is the chip. Here's one that really just kind of gets me. The left versus the right, as we have it right now. Why does it seem that only one side is able to state facts, and neither side can communicate with each other? It seems like people on the right could say, okay, let's go to this case law or this instance, or this event, and the left, it seems to me, I'm just kind of making an observation that when they're questioned, it just becomes, screw you, you're a Nazi, you're a fascist, you're a tyrant, and I'm not going to talk to you. And why is that foretold in the Bible? The Great Delusion.
Yeah, okay, thank you. First of all, it's just what we talked about earlier. The spirit of violence, Hamas, is they rage. I mean, watch these people that are attacking ICE. They start out doing it because they're getting paid. Get paid, go and riot, make a mess, and make everybody think that all of whatever Minnesota is like this. Well, they're not. But what happens is other people get involved who are not, let's say conservative for right now, but has that mindset, and it grows. And that's why you'll see somebody raging against Trump, and you'll have a speaker there, and they say, "Well, tell me what you don't like about Trump." Gosh, there's so much. Well, you just give me one. Well, no, I don't. Give me just one. I gotta go. But there's no reason there. You can't reason with them. You can't have a sit down and say, "Let's just talk about what you believe and what I believe." And when we're done, we'll just go and have some coffee and be friends again. That's not going to happen. That spirit of violence enrages them. That's why when I see pastors that teach, that the replacements, they're angry, they're mad because they're being influenced. Okay, you mentioned deception. That's a good one. Let's go to 2 Thessalonians. Those that are still with me here.
And let's see, what do we have for numbers here?
I'm in 2 Thessalonians right now.
Okay.
Do we still have people hanging on with us here?
We still do. Looks like we got 24 people over on X watching. Looks like we've got 5 people on the Idaho Preparedness Channel, YouTube, the one we just don't really care about, but we got a lot of people here on YouTube that are watching. And on, we got 20 people over here on Rumble watching us. Thanks, you
guys, for sticking around. I appreciate it. Even if you disagree with me, you're listening. And like I said, and I've told Bob, not to call me an expert, because I don't believe anybody's an expert on anything when it comes to prophecy, because things change and we're learning and we're growing and we don't always see things the way maybe that we should. But okay, you mentioned this. Now, if we're in Thessalonians is a great book, and it really it talks about the rapture and what's going to happen. But let's talk about the Antichrist for a minute because it gets right into the deception. So
Okay.
if you're in Second Thessalonians chapter 2, and I don't know where if I want to start right off the bat. Okay, let me start in verse 3, even though I could start earlier, but let's start in verse 3. Let no one deceive you by any means, for that day will not come unless a falling away comes first. And the man of sin is revealed. The man of sin is the Antichrist, okay? In other words, the Christians are holding back the Antichrist from coming in. And remember, I mentioned that when the rapture comes, the rapture comes in Iran, and all the millions of Christians are raptured. All you're going to have left are the unbelievers and Islamic, people that's going to hook up probably with Turkey and all that. But he says, unless for that day will not come unless the falling away comes first. And the man of sin is revealed, the son of perdition. Again, that's the Antichrist, who opposes and exalts himself above all that is called God or that is worshiped, so that he sits as God in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. Now that happens in the middle of the tribulation. See, when the tribulation first starts, the first 3.5 years, the Antichrist is going to appear as a good man, kind of a savior in a way, because he's stopped the first war that was happening at the beginning of tribulation, and people are thinking he's good, but he can't be revealed as the Antichrist until we're gone. So we're going to be taken away before that, and then he'll come out and say, let me help you because, we're in a mess here, and I can do it. So he does. He tries to help it. Things look good, but in the 3.5 years, the temple in Israel will be rebuilt sometime before that 3.5 years is up. We don't know exactly when. The temple will be built. And when it's all done and when it's in there, he's going to go into the temple and say, hello, I'm God, worship me. The Jews are going to say, hell no, we're not going to do that. And that's when the Antichrist is manifested in his fullness. And I wish we could get into that because it's neat and
And
interesting.
we could
Yeah.
do that on another one.
Okay, so it says here, men of God. Okay, verse 5. Do you not remember that when I was still with you, I told you these things? And now you know what's restraining, that he may be revealed in his own time. For the mystery of lawlessness is already at work. Right now, we are seeing the lawlessness, the mystery of lawlessness. It is manifesting in every country, in every city, and every state is being manifest. That spirit of lawlessness, and it's demonic. It's what we see happening in the streets where ICE. We see. I mean, think. I was just reading where in Virginia they're taking away the having to go to jail for rape and murder. I mean, I don't understand that, but lawlessness all around us. And you talked about it earlier. Why do people like Comey and other people that are guilty of sin get away scot free? That's lawlessness. If you're a J6er and you just happen to go be near the Capitol or just walk in because the doors were open and they were waving you in, you go to jail for a year or 2 or 3 or 4 without even having a trial. And it's lawlessness. These guys weren't there. Of course, you did have influencers. You had Antifa and you had the FBI and you had other people involved to agitate so that they could accomplish their goal. Different story. Um, so this is now we're to the interesting. He who now restrains will restrains until he is taken out of the way, and then the lawless one will be revealed. That's the Antichrist will be revealed when the rapture occurs. Whom the Lord will who will consume with the breath of his mouth and destroy with the brightness of his coming. Now, he doesn't do it right then, but he will do it at the conclusion. The coming of the lawless one is according to the working of Satan with all power, signs, and lying wonders. So when the Antichrist appears, there's going to be power, especially when he gets into the false prophet. And with all, okay, here you go. I'll say that again. The coming of the lawless one is according to the working of Satan with all power, signs, and lying wonders, and with all unrighteous deception, okay, among those who perish, because they did not receive the love of the truth that they may be saved. And for this reason, God will send them a strong delusion that they should believe the lie. So what we see here, and this is a big one, this is worldwide. Those that do not know Jesus right now can be, well, spirit of delusion, spirit of deception can consume them. That's why you have kids that have gone to church all their life, even adults. I see people my age marching, and they don't even know what they're marching for, but they've been deceived, they've been deluded. Okay, and that's why, because they believe a lie. Now, there's a big question here, and that's the word that they should believe the lie. That's in verse 11. It doesn't say a lie; it says the lie. And I studied that once in depth to try to figure out what the lie was. And it to me it came out real obvious. What was the first lie that man believed that Satan gave them? Adam and Eve, you can become as gods. You can become as gods. The lie, you can become as gods. I want to be a girl, I'll be a girl. If I want to be a boy, I'll be a boy. If I want to do this, I do this. I am who I am. I control my own body. I control my own life. I control the direction I want. I'm lawless because I do not have you as my authority over me. I am God in myself. And so we're going to see, well, we're already seeing that happen. I'm God because I can control the fact that if I want to kill my baby, I can kill it. And I was just reading right now where California and Minnesota passed some laws where if a baby survives an abortion, they can keep it around for up to 28 days and then kill it. And I mean, my God, where are people? I mean, they've lost it. So, but this scripture here, I jumped over a lot of it, talks about what's going to happen when the rapture occurs.
I want to break from this. We've got some breaking news right now. Gary over on Rumble said feds just shot a guy in Minneapolis. It just happened. Can our city burn when it's minus 30 degrees out? Wow.
So where was that at? What city?
This is in Minneapolis, in Minnesota.
Yeah.
Just happened. It probably hasn't even hit. It probably hasn't hit much more than their local news, unless you've got a couple of news agencies that are now cutting in. But wow, it's.
Do you remember us talking a month ago or so? And I said, based on scripture, we're going to start seeing more little violence. They're going to go in there in a fight, and from there, they're going to start carrying weapons, and from there, they're going to start shooting. They're going to believe they're justified in killing ICE, police, anybody that's against them, and we're going to begin to see warfare as far as shooting and shooting and shooting. We've already seen more shooting than we have recently, and
that's kind of the same thing I was gonna bring up or ask you, the shooting of that Renee Good in Minneapolis, or in Minneapolis or wherever that was, Minnesota. But here we go, we're gonna have a new one that just happened or is just happening right now. You know what, let's let me get through a couple more questions that I had for you, or a couple more quick topics that I had for you. The threat of World War III. Where does that fit in to biblical prophecy?
The only war that I see as far as biblical prophecy is not a world war like we would imagine the second war, where we're fighting Germany and France and with all this stuff happening. I believe that the next big war that we're going to see. Now, that doesn't mean we're not going to have Ukraines and Russias and things like that. But I believe the big one that's going to happen is when the nations that are prophesied to come against Israel will come against Israel full body. And that's going to sometimes it'll suck in other nations. But I guess could Russia nuke us or do an EMP on us? Sure, that can happen. That there's nothing in Scripture that I read that tells me what's going to happen there.
Well, what about
Nothing
the
that
Battle of Armageddon? I mean, doesn't
Armageddon will be most. It's in Israel. It's in Israel, Armageddon,
okay?
because the nations come against Israel, and everybody wants to put like the 10 kings that are, that it's the old Rome dividing up the nations, America, North America, South America, and all that's one nation, and that's possible. I don't see that. I see that the nations, the temporary kings, the 10 kings and the seven that the Antichrist uses, are those that are surrounding Israel that are enemies of Israel right now, which are Muslim countries, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And so Muslim countries are going to be the ones that come after Israel at that time. That doesn't mean there can't be a war, but it's not anywhere where I can see it in the scriptures.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean it won't happen. Just means I don't see it anywhere in scriptures to
All right.
where the world is fighting each other.
Earthquakes, volcanoes happening more and more often right now. How's that?
That is Bible. That is absolutely Bible.
Where in the
Found in
Bible does it talk
Matthew
about that?
Matthew chapter 24.
Okay.
And I encourage anybody, if they want to spend a little time learning what's about to happen, read Matthew 24, Luke 21, Mark 13. That's all Jesus. Each of those are Jesus saying the same things, but in each one, there's some things that he said or that the writer wrote down that the other writers didn't write down. So, and then I would read Luke 17 when it talks about Sodom and Gomorrah, and that's another thing we don't realize, that Sodom and Gomorrah, the LGBT people, that's very much involved in end times prophecy. And if God was angry and destroyed Sodom, Gomorrah, and all that, how much is He more now?
Yeah.
And by the way, that's another one of these I am God. If I don't have to be God, I don't have to be a man. I don't have to be with a woman or a man. I can be with a man and a woman with a woman. That's fine. If you want to learn about that, go to Romans chapter 1, verse 18 through 32. And it shows you how everybody, they say, well, I don't believe in God. There's no proof. How God says everybody has seen that there has to be a God, and how they reject it. They put it aside. They ignored it. And that's, in fact, that's a great topic to teach on. And how each individual, they become more and more decayed in their futile thinking, and they become more immoral, more, I'm going to have to where man goes with man, woman with woman, and how that's criticized, and the ability to think, because it says in their thinking is futile, and it becomes basically anti-God. And so Romans chapter 1, verse 18 to 32 really deals with that. And God is going to correct that. And it says not only those that are involved in that, but those that agree with that. In other words, they may not be a homosexual, but they're marching out there with them. They're just as guilty.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Okay. Well, Gary, again, over on Rumble, and I encourage everybody to go watch on Rumble. But then again, YouTube's making a comeback here. Gary says that they just confirmed on the local news there that the guy that got shot has died. So the left has their next martyr, and they'll go into battle mode again, quite again.
And the left wants that. They want the more people that they can get killed like that. If you have a rifle, and you see all these pictures with guys carrying rifles, the new Black Panthers and all this stuff, you know good and well that one of these days somebody's going to shoot somebody. One of these Black Panthers one of these guys with the gun is going to get excited and shoot somebody, and then the ICE is going to shoot them, and boom, there's our next civil war. Where we have issues like that in our own country. We're moving towards that, but it's not being moved there by accident. Our liberal, leftist, Democrat, I'll say it again, Democrat. I think you even asked this question. Democrat folks that want this, that are moving towards this, where are they coming from? Well, they're the ones that were trained during college, where they were reprogrammed about with Marxism, and they come. We need a democracy. Well, we have a republic, and the problem is you don't want a democracy. You want a Marxist controlled government to where you have one party. That's why you tried so hard to get rid of Trump, and they control everything. Those people, now listen to me, I'm going to say it, and I'm not afraid of it. They're demonically possessed or influenced. They may not have a demon living in them, but they have a demon controlling their thoughts. When you can say, yeah, I want to eliminate America from what it is and remake it, like Obama said, it's demonic. Demonic. We have the best country in the world, Constitution, where we are all protected, black, white, red, yellow, man, woman, where else does that, and so we're seeing them manifest greater and greater. So we're going to see, the right, or should I say those that are followers of truth, and especially
I need to break in here, my friend. Hang on here. Let me do this. Let's publish this, and we're going to go. Here's what. Oh, come on.
Did you get a picture of it?
Yeah. What are we doing here? Oh, nope. I guess we're not getting a picture here. Hang on. Hang on. There we go. Back to the live mode. Here. And here. Nope. That ain't working. All right, here we go. No. Why isn't that working? All right, let's get rid of this. Let's close that window.
Yeah,
It doesn't.
Fire guy here.
It's not working. Yeah.
Fire
Okay.
guy says, is that a halo over Terry's head? No, that's the light on the ceiling.
Okay.
Thank you anyway.
Well, I guess it's not going to let me do this. Let's see. Where do we have that going? Ah, there we go. Kind of, sort of.
That's awful small.
I know. I'm trying to move it up. Here we go. I want to go to this, and we'll get the sound up. There's no sound.
Is that a picture of a gun? I can't tell.
Something, yeah. All right.
Yeah, that's a gun of some sort.
Oh shit! What the fuck? They killed him? Did they fucking kill that guy? Are you fucking kidding me, dude?
That's a shield.
Are you fucking kidding me? That guy's dead.
It looks like it's being filmed out of a window.
Yo, we need people on site. They ain't doing too much, man. They keep pushing people,
Okay.
The best way to avoid not being shot and killed
Is don't do
go
that
there.
shit. Yeah.
Don't pull. I get. If you pull over, you and I pulled over a guy, and they resisted. They went to jail, right?
Yep.
Remember that? How come they can attack and beat these ICE agents, and not every one of them go to jail? I don't understand. But I want to say something. I want to say something before people start tuning out. We've been here a
Okay.
while. The best way, really the only way for you to be secured that you cannot be sucked into these is to know Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, to put him as your God and your Savior, accept him as your Savior, and then follow him and obey him. Go to a good God Bible teaching church and keep that relationship with Jesus going. And I know that sometimes it can be hard for those of us that have been following the Lord for decades and decades. It doesn't mean that we've had our times when we never questioned our relationship. We just got weary in well doing,
Yeah.
and our walk might have gotten a little soft. But know Jesus as your Savior, and I want to say that so that there are those that might be on the wall or might be
Hang
new to
on
this.
here. We got somebody breaking in on the radio. There's a radio traffic for the net. Let's see. Or not. Okay. Guess not. Not right now, at least.
I'd like to have anybody that's listening, if you were okay and enjoyed this kind of talk once in a while, put in there that you enjoyed this and you like it. We're not Bob's not doing this all the time.
Please.
This is I'd like to have anybody that's listening.
Yeah.
But that was me. Anyway,
That was you.
Yeah. But anyway, just put something on the chat there saying, yeah, this was good. Like I said, we're not going to do this very often, I don't think. Bob's met. I'm just here to.
I like to stick to practical prepping topics when we can. But hey, this is driven by you guys watching and participating. I really appreciate all of the interaction here, all of the comments and everything. Let's see. Gary said that he said that he saw it on S2 Underground, mentioned yesterday that there's a leftist gun club in Minneapolis or Minnesota that's training to fight us. And I don't doubt that. There's the John Brown Gun Club. There's a few others that they are leftist organizations. I 100% support their right to carry, to exercise their Second Amendment rights. And unfortunately, if they want to have a war with us, they're going to have a war with us. There are some combat vets. There are some highly trained individuals that have that leftist mentality, no doubt, and they could do some damage. There's a whole lot more of us on the more conservative side, or let's say the sane side of things, that are trained and equipped and ready. And I don't think that that is going to be a huge factor when they go against us, because they might go against ICE, who has rules, but at some point when that gets crossed, and there will be normal people who have had enough and they go, you know what, today's as good a day to die as any, or to fight. It's going to be a whole new world because there won't be any rules. And unfortunately, there won't be any rules. Terry, I think it's probably a good enough time. It's 10:30. Probably a good enough time for us to call this one a day.
One more thing, Bob. and we started off with this. It is not okay, neither is it legal, to go into a church and interrupt that service to try to spread your point or to stop others from having their own point of view. So stay away from churches if that's what you have an intent to do. Leave them alone. You don't agree
Yep.
with them, fine. They don't agree with you, they're not going to go and bother you. And most churches, or a lot of churches now, have trained up security to stop that from happening. And so, like if you go to the church, you're going to find yourself slammed against the floor with a gun pointed at your head if you have to, dragged outside until the cops pick you up. So just leave them alone. Let them worship God, and you don't have to get your 2 cents in there. You want to give your 2 cents in, go down the corner and do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. Gary has a lot of updates. Yes, updates are coming in. 51-year-old male. It looked like a white guy. So, you know what? It's getting spicy, kids. And I think, a good topic next week, because I have questioned this, is when does a government become tyrannical? And, we can all agree that, like North Korea, I would say Cuba, Maduro's Venezuela would be considered tyrannical. They literally starved their populations. But I want to explore that for next week, I think. Terry, you and I had kind of talked about that. And I think that'd be a great topic, because right now we're very much in support of ICE and enforcing the law. And there's a huge kind of disconnect. It's like almost what came first, the chicken or the egg? People are saying, well, if ICE would have just worn khaki pants and polo shirts and gone and done their thing, that it would have, that there wouldn't be all the animosity toward ICE. And honestly, if the left hadn't come out and immediately started violent protests, which started, Lord, last year in California, you had normal cop cars getting burned and torched in LA. And it just kept escalating as the cops would defend themselves, and rightfully had to escalate because the left was escalating, or the protesters were escalating, and it's just snowballed. It's snowballed. But at some point, does that same force become an occupying force? I don't know. Let's talk about it next week. Sound good? You guys let me know in the chat. Let me know in the comments. I think it's probably a good time for us to duck out of here, because I've got things to do today. And Terry, thank you for all of the information you provided today. And I want to thank everybody else for joining in and actually making this thing. Man, we had a sit rep in real time. Wow, how cool. Wow. Okay, it's things are kind of getting spicy, or they're going to start spicing up here in Minneapolis very quickly. All right, guys. With that, Terry, any parting words?
No, not really. We'll cover it next week.
All right. Sounds good. Thank you, everybody, for joining, and we will talk to you next week. I'm Bob, K6GDA. This is Terry, KJ7RAR. We're out.